But I think that I saw this water here, and it reminded me of something. And I thought I would, I don't want to do too much damage here. No, that's all right. No, it's just fine right there. Thank you. Beloved friends, when I saw this has nothing to do with what I came to tell you tonight, except to show you in a different way the greatness and wonder of you. Forgive me. This is a good demonstration, though, to show you exactly what's happening in the world. This is the water of life, Baha'i'llah's teachings. This is all there is of it in the world. We have it all. And what we have difficulty with people sometimes because they are turned toward the world and not to the Yahweh kingdom, not getting any spiritual power at all. And no matter how hard you pour the water of life on them, you see what happens, right? Nothing. Nothing. He's absolutely empty. And then they see you, the Baha'is out there, and what you stand for, the radiance of your face, your kindness, your tenderness, but they can't know what to do. They can't get any results, right? See? But they want to be like that. They want to be like you, and so they struggle. They know something's wrong, and they struggle, and they force themselves until they're away from the earth, not toward heaven, but toward the earth. And you still try to find something, not much, but in there's something. And when they taste it, it is the most wonderful thing ever imaginable. And they want more. They want more because they know they've never had anything before. And that's the way those people are. They catch on fire and they struggle, sacrifice, and turn from the world until finally they're turned to the kingdom on high. And you come with the water of life, and when you pour it, those people become on fire, and their hearts are filled with the water of life that will change their life and the lives of everybody they come in contact with. And that is the way that you will become when you catch that. Isn't it a blessing? Well, have you got a towel back there?
No, but I'll get it.
All right. It's beautiful. Very simple, but very beautiful, and very little damage. I'm a big tipper, so I'll get somebody who will do all of this very nicely. Well, beloved friends, we're coming now close to the end and to the best part of all. Oh, I wasn't going to do this, but I think I will. To show you, you think you can't do anything. You think, well, you'd like to, but you're really not in a position to do. I put down 2 stories that happened to me, and I wanted to tell them to you. Because I was traveling, I think it was in Latin America, it was quite a while ago, but it's such a beautiful story. And this young man was so typical of myself, saying, well, I don't know if I can do that, gee whiz, But I tried, that's the main thing. And I was sent there because he came to this community, and he was the 9th member on the assembly, and to save it 1 year. And he stayed there, and he didn't like it there at all. He was pretty fed up with everything. And I went there to try to help him out if I could. And I met him, and he told me, there's no use to try to teach here. It's out of the question. Nobody's interested. I wish I could get up and walk better on my feet. I could tell you, I was walking down the street with him, and he said, nobody's interested, and he was kicking his feet, on the sidewalk. Nobody cares. The church has got the people in their grasp. Other people they want cars, they want finances, and he's kicking his feet like that. And I pointed down, I said, there's never anybody to teach down there. You got to get your eyes away from there. You're in radio like I was. You have to...
Just let me get this first.
Yes. Yes, thank you. This over here, too. Here, I'll do that. Never mind. Let me have it again, please. Dick. Richard.
here.
All right. That Richard got him. Wasn't that wonderful the way they did that? I'll tell you right now, he's been so kind to me all during the days I've been here. And I couldn't, may I have it just a second? And so I told him that there's nothing down there, you know. You're in radio, you have to get your antenna up and look around where the people are. Zzz, 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 keep looking for them, you know. And he laughed because he was in that business, and he thought that was a pretty good idea. And then I told him about prayer and all of the things, nothing. He didn't have to do anything. All he had to do was report for duty, you know. And so the next day, I stayed another day, and he read the blue prayer book all the way through twice that night and never went to sleep. I said, you don't have to be a fanatic. You just have to agree you want to do something, and everything will be all right. I had to leave. I was going down to Chile. My son was getting married. His wife was Fred Schechter's sister. I told you about them yesterday. And I was on my way there, and I said I'd stop back and see how he was feeling when I came back. Well, anyway, I came back a bit later, and I was coming out of the airport and going in toward the place, and he managed to get inside the gate. And he started to holler at me with his arms outstretched, right? He said, "It worked! It worked!" I didn't know what worked or anything, you know. But he hit me amidships and nearly knocked my 2 bags about 5 feet back, you know. Well, I said, tell me about it. We'll have a cup of tea or something. And he did. He said it worked the next day. And he told me how he got up and he prayed again all the way through the blue prayer book 3 times during the night. He took 2 showers and he scrubbed and everything. And then he's getting ready to go out and see if he can find a contact to teach. And I told him, you don't have to be fanatic. He said, I know you said that, but I said to myself, if it doesn't work this time, it's going to be their fault and not mine, right? He was doing everything. And he's walking down the street, and he's not kicking his feet like that at all, not looking down there where there are no believers. He's looking up there, and he's got his antenna going, zizz, zizz, zizz. And a man came out from between 2 houses, about a block or so from his house, and he smiled at him, you know, like a rocking chair he had inside his mouth. He said, good morning to the man, and the guy looked at him like that, you know, and drew back. And he says, what's the matter? I just said good morning. He said, yes, but I've been coming out from between those houses for 5 years, and that's the first time you ever said good morning. Well, right, because he was down here with the trouble. I met the man. He's now on the local spiritual assembly. He filled the 9th position so this young man can go out into the small villages and that. See, he didn't have to do anything. He was there waiting for them. And then another little village, I can't remember where, but I was telling them all the things I was telling you. But we didn't have all these marvelous things in houses of worship everywhere, institutions everywhere, and it was more of a struggle. And they wanted to do proclamation. That was the call years ago. But they didn't have any money. And they said they couldn't get any money and there was no way to do it. I said, what you have to do is make up your mind to it and think big. And then leave it up to the Supreme Concourse and to your prayers. And I could see they didn't really believe that too much. I told them, why don't you just tonight, why don't we just see everybody here, including the children, contribute to this proclamation meeting? And they did. Even the children stuck in their pennies. Everybody contributed in that whole community. And all they collected for their big proclamation meeting was $3.10. And his secretary said, well, I don't think we can do a lot of proclamation with $3.10. And the little boy, about 14 or 15 in the back, young man, he says, who are you to say that? You're only the secretary. I mean, if the Supreme Concourse says we'll get proclamation, we'll get it. And that's the way we should look at it. Well, that caused a big heated discussion, right? $3.10. The secretary said, well, let's buy a book. At least we'll have something and not lose all the money in stamps or something. And they did buy a brand new Some Answered Questions. You remember the old one with the blue cover and the Persian writing, Arabic maybe? No matter. Some Answered Questions. And she said, I'm not the world's greatest secretary. Maybe if I read this, I'll understand something more. And maybe I'll begin to change, and at least it'll help me. And that'll be a blessing to the community, somebody said from way in the back end, you know. So that was the way, when she took the, anyway, the phone rang, and it was her husband. He said he was very sorry that he couldn't, they had some trouble at the office, and he couldn't come and pick her up with the car as he usually did. She'd have to take the bus. I'll make it shorter. So she took the bus home, and she went in and got a seat by the window, and she's reading some answered questions, right? And it's really got herself concentrated on it, and she's reading. And it stopped a couple of times, and in one place a young man got in, and it raining outside. There was no seat except one. You know where that was, alongside the secretary, right? So he went over and sat down, and he was pretty pleased with the world and liked everybody, but she had no time for him, you know, because he's busy with this. And he looked over at her, smiled. He says, "What are you reading?" And she says, "I am reading a book." I mean, with that loving, warm Baha'i spirit, see? And so he wasn't discouraged easily. He liked people. He says, "Well, what kind of a book is it?" "If you must know," she said, "it's a Baha'i book." "You've heard of that, certainly, haven't you?" "No," he said, "I haven't." "Tell me about it." "I don't have the time." And she went back, and she went back to the book. And she got to thinking about that, you know. In the Supreme Concourse up there, we told them, they're up there working, looking for instruments, and she knew she'd been no kind of an instrument at all. Finally, she stopped, and she put the book in her lap. She says, "Would you like to hear about the Baha'i faith?" "Of course I would," he said. "I always like new things." He told her. She told him about it. Well, again, to make it abridge it and shortage, he worked in the local newspaper, and he had assistant editor's job or something. And he got quite fond of this lady in spite of, "I'm reading a book," you know. And now she's caught up a bit in it, and the power's still coming down. She told him about it, and he was interested, and she met him a couple of times, and she told him about they had this big thing for the proclamation, and all they got was this book, $3.10. He said, "Could I read it?" She said, "As soon as I'm through with it, you can read it." Anyway, the upshot of it was, beloved friends, because of the kindness of that man, an instrument of God out there. It says in our writings, the master said, the guardian said, the people, prepared souls are out there waiting for us. All we have to do is to find them. We have to have that sweetness and love that attracts them like a magnet. And so he became quite fond of the Baha'is, and he read the book, and he thought he'd like to help them. So he arranged, if they wanted to have a meeting, he'd arrange for them to have the auditorium at the newspaper, free, without a penny. And so they were very excited. They started to do work on it. And he arranged articles talking about the big program they're going to have there, and the proclamation program for the Baha'i faith and the cause of God. And he gave them newspaper articles. He sent a photographer to the meeting, and they took pictures of it and sent pictures after it and wrote it up. And they had a wonderful meeting. They were on radio. They were on the television station. Sorry. And what happened was that they were given by this man the equivalent of $15,000 in publicity, in an auditorium and all these things. And they got it all for a $3.10 book that they'd all contributed in together. Beloved friends, that is the way it works. Be sure. Just pray and decide and go ahead with your own thoughts. The person you want to talk to across the street, whatever it is, you will find them, because they are out there to do all of the work for you. Well, I got drunk with power, and I went a little further. But now we really now are coming to the end. And it is again, as this was, you know, about the magnificence and greatness of you. Baha'u'llah declares that if the true station of such loving and sincere, faithful Baha'is were to be unveiled to the eyes of mankind, every believer on earth would be consumed away in his or her longing to attain it and to be like that himself or herself. If it was ever revealed to them, they could see. I had one about the eye of the needle, you know, but I couldn't find my needle. It's in my suitcase, I think, someplace. But I used to take it out of my coat and hold it up. You couldn't even see the eye out there. But Baha'i'llah said, if the people of the world could see your station and your love for Baha'i'llah as much as through the eye of a needle, they would be overwhelmed because of its wonder and joy. Such truly sincere Baha'is, believers, the station they can attain unto is the station of the prophets of Israel. Every one of you, prophets of Israel. Those who are not manifestations, I mean. You know, like Christ or Moses, who brought a book. But I assume it would be Isaiah and Ezekiel and Micah and so on. But that's you, prophet of Israel. I've never been in a big room so filled with Isaiahs as we are here now. Are you Isaiahs upstairs? Let me hear your feet if you're up there. Yeah, see? Isn't that wonderful? And the writings of the faith in the world order of Baha'u'llah, it says that the life and the very existence of such people on earth, you, every one of you there when you turn to Baha'u'llah, is the originating purpose of all creation. You. It was true of the Christians in their day, and of course the Jews and the Muslims and so on. But just imagine such a thing. I got to hear. This is the world order of Baha'u'llah. I made in notes on it. You have a close-up? Can you get a close-up at the end of that book? Give me a left-hand wave or something when you close in on it as I hold it. This is the world order of Baha'u'llah. Do you know what he's seeing there? Let me show you. Those are all paper clips. I put a paper clip in there every place where there was something about you that was wonderful. Did you get a shot of that all right? That's good, because that's marvelous. I'm going to just read you one. I want to read one to you about you, what Baha'u'llah says about you. You're paper clipped every place. You're so great and so grand and so sweet and so wonderful. I would like to be able to come out, walk out and hold every one of you in my arms and to tell you what's going to happen to all of us because of you. And now 3 quotations that are some of the most powerful of all. To see the potential that existed for such a long time in our faith, and what you could do if you would arise. Listen to this. This is in New York City, the Covenant, where the great centenary will be soon, that Abdul-Baha designated as the city of the Covenant. In New York City in 1912, almost 80 years ago, the beloved master Abdul-Baha was walking down the street of that great metropolis with the now famous Baha'i, Roy Wilhelm, who a hand of the cause, and whom the beloved guardian said was a saint. The master Abdul-Baha said to Mr. Wilhelm, you'll find all of this on page 60 of the Star of the West, volume 4, number 7, May 2nd, 1912. Abdul-Baha said that if the Baha'is of New York City had actively arisen to teach and had loved each other and had lived the Baha'i principles in their lives. In fact, he said, if they had lived only one of the principles in their lives, most, or at least half of the city of New York would have been their followers at that time. Baha'is lived only one of the principles in their lives. Pick one and start. You won't be perfect right away, but you'll never be anything if you don't start. And you probably add all the others too. Excuse me, that's not what the master said. I said that, but it's pretty good. I got it from him. Everything I have, I got from him. But the master said, it would have made such a spiritual impact on the people of New York City that by that time, 1912, almost 80 years ago, all of the people would have been Baha'is. It's tremendous, isn't it? Here's the second one. Abdu'l-Baha wrote a similar letter, even more staggering, to Washington, D.C., where they've been having some difficulties and personality conflicts, and you know those things that hamper and hurt the cause of God. He said to them, why this discord? Why this disunity? That if you had been united and loved each other and had arisen to teach and had lived only one of the Baha'i principles in your lives, most of the people of the Western Hemisphere would have been your helpers and supporters by that time. Millions and millions of people would have become followers of faith and been Baha'is. So don't tell me that the power is not out there waiting for you. Imagine if we'd arisen and understood what would happen, and imagine what will happen now if you do only begin to live one of the principles in your life. It won't hurt to live two or three and make a big thing out of it. Maybe we'll get all of Chicago and all of El Paso and a great deal of Los Angeles, but that would be millions and millions of believers. Isn't that wonderful? And perhaps the most astonishing of all, so much so that I'm going to read it from Baha'u'llah's own words, from the Book of Gleanings. This one will really blow you out of the water. Or as I said, I'm from Arizona, we have no water, but it'll sure blow you out of the sand, I'll tell you that. This is just wonderful. Listen. We have admonished all the loved ones of God, all of his followers, everybody in this room, not to smirch with the mire of unlawful deeds our raiment, or to stain with the dust of reprehensible conduct our garments. Moreover, he exhorted them to fix their gaze upon whatever had been revealed in our tablets by the pen of might, by Baha'u'llah himself. That's what he said. Now listen. Had their inner ears been attentive to the divine counsels which have shone forth from the day star of the pen of the All-Merciful, and had they hearkened unto our voice, most of the peoples of the world on earth would have by now been their helpers and their supporters and under the guidance of God. Most of the peoples of the earth. He didn't say even about living one principle or doing what. If we just heard his voice and arisen to teach, most of the peoples of the earth. That's something, isn't it? So you see the power. That's 100 years ago, that one. What we could have done at that time if we just arisen. So please believe you are who you are, and you will change the world. And I hope that you will never, never forget these days we've had on this Saturday and Sunday. I hope you will remember it. Say a prayer every day of your lives when you look in the mirror and tell Baha'i'llah, I'm ready. Send me to the right place. Have me meet the right person. And you will. And San Francisco, as it has always done, will be in the forefront of the believers of God. You. You are so great. You heard it's all about you. Every word of it. It's not a mistake. It's absolutely in the sacred writings of our faith. And so I'm going to close with just one more quotation. Well, there's two really. One isn't much of a quotation. I mean, it's wonderful, but not too long. This is from God Passes By, page 226. Baha'i'llah said in there, "We verily have not fallen short of our duty to exhort all men to deliver that which God had bidden us to do." Is there any excuse left for anyone in this revelation? No. By God, the Lord of mighty power, my power hath enveloped the whole world, and my might hath surrounded all the peoples of the world. You saw the chart, the Bab, Baha'i'llah, two messengers of God, 40 years of written revelation, and all of those other years, 75 years of interpretation of what it meant, and so on and so on. Well, that's enough. I think you know who you are. I hope you'll go home and take a look at yourself in the mirror before you go to bed, and tomorrow morning when you wake up, never let life be the same again, and stand up and fight for 9,000 new believers. It is nothing from this, all that you've heard. And finally, Baha'i'llah, also from God Passes By, it's from page 10 of the introduction, but his words. Baha'i'llah says, "Verily, Christ said, 'Come, that I may make you to be fishers of men.' And today we, Baha'i'llah, we say, 'Come, that we make you quickeners of mankind.'" Your job is to quicken and bring the kingdom of God on earth for the happiness of the world forever. And then the quotation closes. "Lo, this is the day of grace. Come ye, that I may make you kings of this earth, and kings in the realm of my kingdom." You, kings and queens, in the realm of his kingdom. Baha'i'llah says, "If ye obey me, you will see that which we promised you, and I will make you the friend of my soul in the realm of my greatness. And you will be the companions of my beauty in the heaven of my kingdom with me forever and ever." Please remember me in your prayers. Thank you.